Hey, what's up, sports bettors? It's Matt Modi here with OddsJam, and what I'm going to be doing in this video is giving you my top 3 favorite upset picks for NFL Sunday Week 1. This is something that I'm going to be doing every week, giving my favorite upset picks. Won't always have 3. Sometimes I might just have 1. Sometimes I might have more than 3. But for this week, I have 3 picks, underdogs, moneyline, that I think are really good bets. 3 teams that I have already backed on this YouTube channel, bets that I have already locked in. Some of them just on the spread, some of them actually on the money line. But regardless, these are my top 3 money line underdogs to pick for NFL Week 1. And I created this spreadsheet, Matt's NFL bets. It's pretty complicated, as you can see. There's not a single thing on here. As I go through and give you some of my top picks, I will be adding all of them to this spreadsheet. For those of you who followed along the YouTube channel last year, every week I did a 4 sharp bets for that week's slate, giving one favorite, one quote unquote lock, one underdog, one player prop, and one game prop. That video will be coming out on Thursday or Friday, maybe Saturday, and that will also be tracked in this spreadsheet. So definitely make sure, if you are not subscribed, to click that plus button so you can follow along with me for the entirety, hopefully, of this NFL season. But starting off, as I mentioned, for this video specifically, I will just be giving my underdog moneyline picks. So giving the team, giving the odds, whether they won or lost, and then tracking my overall record specifically with these underdogs. Keep in mind, you don't need to win at a 50% rate in order to be profitable when betting on underdogs. That's the beauty of plus money. All of these bets will be assuming 1 unit was placed on them. So for those of you who are checking this at home, lock in 1 unit on these moneyline underdogs. So that's enough chatter. Let's get started. So pretty awesome slate we have here, obviously, because it's week 1. Every single team is playing. It's very exciting stuff. Although, of course, if we want to lock in moneyline underdogs, obviously they need to be an underdog. So what we can do, instead of just looking at the NFL schedule, if you go to oddsjam.com, you literally go to oddsjam.com, sports NFL. Instead, it pulls up what the odds are, the moneyline odds for every single game. So it's a very easy way to go through and immediately identify, what teams have a value. Because anywhere in which you see the OddsJam line, which is Pinnacle, or BetOnline, which is another sharp sportsbook, as the best odds, we immediately know that there won't be any value on that team. So going through, this is a bet that I have already locked in. As you can see on the screen here, the screenshot, I locked it in for 1 unit, which was $50 at the time. Now my unit plays are 100. But regardless, I love backing the Rams week 1 against the Bills. So if you want to check out the odds individually for each game, you can right click, open in a new tab, and it pulls up the main markets. So the money line, the point spread, the total points. Of course, if you want to look at a bunch of other stuff, all player props, all alternate totals, alternate markets, literally anything you want is here. But it's nice to have all 3 main markets on the on one page. And in this case, we are just going to be backing the money line. So I don't need anything else. As we can see, the average odds for the Rams is at about plus 113. We see a couple sharp books like BetOnline has them at plus 110. Pinnacle has them at plus 116. So not too much of a gap between the best odds. But anywhere in which you can get better odds than Pinnacle and BetOnline is going to have some sort of value. So if you do want to lock in this Rams pick, I would recommend taking it at plus 118 on Bet Rivers. And so that's the math, the logic, the odds behind it. From a handicapping perspective, I've talked about this a lot on videos, so I'll keep it relatively brief. But if you just look at Rams week 1 history since 2017, which is when they hired Sean McVay. Win. They're literally 5-0. Granted, they don't have a ton of impressive wins here. They beat the Colts when Andrew Luck wasn't there. They beat the Raiders the Raiders have always been kind of a joke, but 2 kind of impressive wins against Carolina when they still had Cam Newton, and Dallas, this was the year Dak Prescott got hurt, but prior to that injury. But regardless, Sean McVay hasn't lost a game in week 1 in his career. I also looked it up. Defending Super Bowl champs are 18-3 straight up in the last 21 years in week 1. So defending Super Bowl champs, which makes sense because They normally get a home game, so the Super Bowl champ will normally play at home, except for some weird circumstances. And obviously, if they just won the Super Bowl, they're probably a really good team, right? That makes sense. So you can understand why the history favors the defending Super Bowl champ. But in this game specifically, there's a couple reasons why I like backing the Rams. Number one, I think that the Bills' secondary is going to cause issues for them to begin the year. So Tre'Davious White is on the PUP. He is out for at least the first 4 weeks. And they're also going to be starting a rookie, Kaiir Elam. Now, he was a first-round pick. He does have a lot of talent. But aside from cornerback has been long understood as the hardest position to play as a rookie. So I think he's going to struggle going against the Rams passing offense with Van Jefferson, Allen Robinson, and obviously Cooper Kupp. And then tight end Tyler Higbee, I think, is going to be a lot. And then the Bills' offense, which is probably going to end the year as like a top 5 offensive unit, could actually struggle starting off the year for 2 reasons. Number one, look at their offensive line. They don't necessarily have a great offensive line, projected 20th. Going against a Rams defensive line featuring Aaron Donald could be a little bit scary. Granted, PFF, which is where I pulled the stat from, says that they could take a step forward as the season goes on. So we'll see. But for week 1, going against Aaron Donald is a little bit scary. And then, of course, replacing their offensive coordinator. So they, in the offseason, offensive coordinator Brian Daboll went from the Bills. He's now the head coach of the Giants. And they replaced him with quarterbacks coach Ken Dorsey. Now, all reports out of camp is that the offense, the scheme itself isn't changing. He's running the same offense, still going to be pass heavy. It's just an unknown. We never know really how important coordinators are until they leave. But I will say in the case of the Bills, Brian Daboll was pretty much the architect of that offense. He was their head coach on offense because the Bills' actual head coach, Sean McDermott, is a defensive head coach. So he handles the defense. They had Brian Daboll handle the offense. So we'll see. It's an unknown. It could end up not meaning anything. But heading into week 1, the Rams have significantly less unknowns. They could honestly have a better roster this year than they did last year. Adding Allen Robinson. Obviously, they lose Odell, but they add Allen Robinson. They also added Bobby Wagner at linebacker. Now they lost Von Miller, so it kind of evens each other out. 1 year of experience, McVay, Matt Stafford, assuming his elbow's fine. I like the Rams a lot here. So again, I already locked them in, but I would recommend taking them. There still is some value at their money line odds at plus 118. So the Rams, number 1. Number 2, this is going to sound like a hater pick because of my fanhood. I love getting the Jaguars plus 125 on WynnBET. So I've actually already locked them in on the spread, as you can see on the screenshot here, but I love their money line odds as well. So there's a little bit better value on the Jaguars at plus 125 than there was on the Rams. As we can see, the average odds, again, pulled from OddsJam at plus 118. BetOnline has them at plus 115, so a full 10 cents lower. Granted, Pinnacle, the OddsJam line, only has them at plus 121. But no other book is pricing this better than plus 121. DraftKings, Tipico, again, I mentioned BetOnline. A bunch of other books have them at plus 115, so there is a value getting the Jaguars at plus 125. And to be honest with you, this is a complete, this is 2 things. 1, a complete and utter fade of Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz's counting stats, funny enough, they weren't bad last year. If you just look at his stats from last year, people are going to say, oh, that's not that bad. Carson Wentz stats. I think he had 27 touchdowns to 7 interceptions is pretty good. He did have a lot of fumbles, but what we know about Wentz is he makes the stupid boneheaded plays. He had that left-handed interception for a touchdown against the Titans. He had a couple really, really bad red zone turnovers last year against the Rams. He did it again against the 49ers. Just in the most inopportune times, comes up horribly. And now let's look at Jaguars 2021 week 18. The last time we saw Carson Wentz on a football field, this is what he did. He lost to the Jaguars. Not only did he lose, got spanked by the Jaguars. He threw 17 of 29 for 185 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He also lost a fumble. In the most inopportune times, in the biggest moments, Wentz shrinks. That's always been his MO in his entire career. So I think he's playing the Jaguars, of course, in week 1. Of course, the NFL scheduled that in week 1. I have no faith that he's going to show up. The Washington football team has been a train wreck for my entire lifetime. I don't see why this is any different. And I do think that there is something to be said for the Jaguars going from Urban Meyer, the most hateable, despicable head coach on the planet, to Doug Peterson, funny enough, who coached Carson Wentz. But everything about Peterson screams that he is incredibly likable. His players love him. So I think they're going to get a legit value going from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson, and especially show up in that week 1 and get a victory. The Jaguars also made a ton of moves in the offseason. Christian Kirk, they drafted a defensive lineman, number 1 overall. Wentz has never been able to thrive with the poor offensive line. Granted, no quarterback does. So the Jaguars moneyline plus 125, I think is really, really good as my second underdog pick. And my third and final one, and admittedly, this is the one that I'm least confident about, is the Vikings plus 110 FoxBet against the Packers. So again, the fact that we know that the plus 110 odds are the best odds means that there's some sort of value on this play. And the Vikings are a team that I'm actually quite high on this year. Talking about the likability factor on the Jaguars perspective, going from Urban Meyer to Doug Peterson, I think that also applies to the Vikings, going from Mike Zimmer, who that team just hated. They were totally ready to get rid of Mike Zimmer, to Kevin O'Connell. Now, Kevin O'Connell has been with the Rams as their offensive coordinator. He's very, very highly regarded on the in the NFL circles. I think that he is going to do a good job with Minnesota. They still have talent on defense, and it really was their defense that kind of let the Vikings down the past couple years, especially 2 years ago. The defense was terrible, and Kirk Cousins is very, very easy to clown on. I do it all the time, but just look at his stats the past 2 years. Both years, over 4,200 passing yards, over 30 touchdowns, 35 one year, 33 last year, only 7 interceptions. He's actually been quite good. The past couple years for the Vikings, it's just been like I said, their defense that has let them down. The Vikings have skill positions. Obviously, Justin Jefferson could be the best receiver in the league. Adam Thielen is still solid. Dalvin Cook is solid. On the Packers side, I think while I do think they're going to have a good defense, their offensive line makes me nervous with Bakhtiari being back, but we haven't seen him play in a couple years now, and it's his first game back coming off of injury, as well as right tackle Elton Jenkins coming off of injury. And the Packers, we all remember what happened to the Packers week 1 last year against the Saints. They had a really good year, the Packers did, but look at how they did week 1 last year against the Saints. They got pounded 38-3. Now, I don't think the Vikings are going to win 38-3. I think the Packers know it's a grind. Start slow in week 1 isn't going to be a big deal. RELAX. But the Vikings, I do like them to get the week 1 victory, plus 110 odds on FoxBet. So to confirm my 3 underdog picks, I'm going with the LA Rams at plus 118. I got them at plus 125, but this is now the best. We're going with the Jaguars against the Commanders at plus 125. And then we're going with the Vikings at plus 110 as my 3 underdog picks. So again, I will track as the season goes along, see how things go. But that's going to be it. So let me know what you thought of these picks. Let me know what you thought of the analysis behind the picks, all that stuff. If you are tailing, let me know that as well. And that's it. So I appreciate you guys watching. Again, please remember to click that subscribe button. Follow along with these NFL bets as the season goes. And that's it. So thanks for watching and have a good one.